Hello, Western Oregon sports fans, and welcome to this edition of Wolves Weekly. I'm joined today by head women's basketball coach Greg Bruce.
Danny, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing today, Coach?
Good, thanks.
Well, you got to be feeling pretty good coming off a couple of wins last week.
Hey, it's always good to win, isn't it? It was good.
Starting off 2-0 in conference, fantastic. We'll come back to that one a little bit more,
right.
But to me, it was the way you got those ones done. You had a pair of close games, and your team really gutted it out on those ones.
They sure did. One game we had to come from behind the whole way and finally caught up at the end of regulation and won in overtime. In the second game, we were way ahead after the first half and kind of had to hang on to win that one. It's close at the end of the game.
I'd like to start really quick with that first game you had on Wednesday night against Northwest Nazarene. And I'd actually like to cut to our special guest in studio today, junior forward Riley Peterson. How are you doing today, Riley?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good. I'd like to hear from you a little bit about this Northwest Nazarene game, your first ever conference game, and just the will and the way you guys continue to fight back in this game. Down 5 points with under 40 seconds to go. Talk to me about that part first.
Well, we were down and we knew we had to score. We knew Sarah was going to make some shots. She's a great three-point shooter, and we had to get the ball in the right people's hands. Jamie Richardson and Sarah Zoller both were doing great, and Sarah hit some big shots, as well as Jamie.
And as Riley's talking about that right there, the Wolves are down 5 points with 33 seconds left on the clock. Sarah Zoller comes down, kind of the right-hand side of the top of the key, drills a three-pointer to bring you back within two. You guys then come down, get a deep, you actually foul them, but they miss the front end of a 1-and-1. Jamie Richardson brings it to the floor, drives the lane, gets fouled, but makes the shot right there to tie it up. I have to admit, that place was ecstatic. It was a very good atmosphere, but that just sends the game to overtime. The Wolves have to continue to fight in overtime. It goes back and forth. The game gets tied up by them, I believe it was with about 45 seconds on the clock, and then we get to see Riley Peterson come through. Riley, take me through that final sequence there when you're able to convert a layup, put the Wolves up by 2 for the eventual game-winning score.
Well, I wasn't really thinking about I wasn't nervous necessarily. It was someone made a good pass and I had an open shot, and it just like any other shot in a game, but it just so happened to be the last make of the game, luckily. So.
And Riley was able to sneak that one right through, give the Wolves a 61-59 win in overtime against Northwest Nazarene. As we talked about a little bit last week, not saying any games are more important than another one, but those we know are some very important games because those are the teams that, as we have to say, are kind of at that tier where West Oregon is looking to take a step forward under Coach Bruce here. Those are the games you have to win, and I know you put a lot of significance in those ones.
Well, they're home games, first of all, Danny. They start the conference season earlier than we've ever started before. Now that we've added Simon Fraser, we have 2 more conference games, so we had to move them up to December. So it puts a little extra burden on you to get ready for those games, but when they're at home and teams that we think we can play with, they were important wins. I don't want to minimize. Riley was a little bit, took a back seat there a little bit in her own description of that, but Riley does a great job of getting herself in position to get to the basket and make those kind of shots in any situation. And it's always comforting to know that she has the ability to read the back door and the overplay and get to the lane. And I know she finishes really well around the hoop. So it was kind of calculated, and she did a great job finishing it.
And I noticed we got to see that very same thing, especially against Humboldt State, when you could see her just cutting all over the floor. They couldn't hang with her just on her cuts. She was amazing. I'd like to jump now really quick into Saturday's game against Central Washington there. You guys have a fantastic first half in that game. I believe you built a 20-point lead at halftime, 48-28. Then you guys hang on for the win.
Yeah, unfortunately, the first half was one of our better halves of the year. We got the ball out in transition. We made some shots from the outside. We were able to get some layups. We got to the free throw line. Our defense created some turnovers, which let us have some extra possessions. But the second half, and we were talking about this in the locker room, ladies, we got to come out that second half and prepare just like it's 0-0. We've got to fight back. We can't let them get any momentum going in. And sure enough, Central came out a lot more aggressive. They kind of took it to us a little bit. We got it back on our heels somewhat, made some defensive lapses and let them have some easy baskets that we had been doing a really good job of with all teams prior to that. And then once the game got a little bit closer, they got a little bit more fired up, and it became kind of a dogfight down the stretch.
And I know we can nitpick on all that, but at the end, they didn't come back. You guys got the win. You guys are 2-0 in the GNAC. First time since the 2001-02 season, Western Oregon has started off conference play with 2 straight wins.
That's huge. You know, we're trying to move the program forward, Danny, as everybody knows, and it's been kind of it's been a fight, it's been a challenge, but the girls have responded almost in every situation this year. They've never quit fighting, even when the game did get close down the stretch against Central. I had a feeling that we were going to be okay because, you know, we've been in some close games. We've had to pull them out, like the Northwest Nazarene game, the Humboldt game. We've been in that situation, so I felt good about it.
And actually, I'd like to hear a little bit from Riley Peterson right now on this one, and just hear from her the significance of getting these wins, starting out conference play with a record of 2-0.
I think it's huge for us. I've obviously never got to play in this conference before, but talking to the girls, starting off 2-0 is a really big deal. It builds our confidence and gives us the confidence to move on and hopefully know that we can beat some bigger teams if we play strong and minimize our turnovers and just keep pushing the ball the way we are.
Besides having that belief, and you mentioned a little bit about the turnover thing, what are some other keys for the women's team moving forward this year to continue success both on the season and in conference play?
I think if we need to learn to, which we are learning and doing better at, keeping the energy the whole time. You know, sometimes we'll start off slow and have to build from come from behind, or sometimes we'll build like we did in the Central Washington game where we started off great and then we kind of let down in the second half. So if we can keep our momentum and energy going throughout the whole game, and finding who's hot, like we found Sarah multiple times for open three-pointers. If we can, I think those are two keys in keeping us. I think those are two keys in pushing us forward and helping us win some of the next few games.
Thank you, Riley. And as Riley mentioned right there, Sarah was hot this weekend. She was able to score some points, and actually she was able to achieve something that hasn't happened since 2008. For the weekend, she scored 40 points and earned Co-GNAC Player of the Week.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've had some good players come through here, even though our teams necessarily haven't been as strong as we'd like. You know, Katie Torland was first team all conference 2 years in a row and never won the GNAC Player of the Year award, or Player of the Week. So it's kind of like you have to be in the right place at the right time. The fact that we got 2 GNAC wins was a big help for that. You know, and Sarah, to her credit, she's had to step up for us in her scoring production, and she has done that. And she had a great 2 games this weekend. The 3-point shots were key down the stretch of both games, plus she made her free throws. And you know, now we have 3 kids now that are scoring in double figures: Riley, Sarah, and Jamie Richardson. Last year, we only had 1. I think that's really helped us, knowing that we have other options besides just one player to focus on.
And it has been great this year. As you mentioned, last year it did really feel, I'm not saying Katie was all alone, but you knew you were going to her. It just seems like the other teams don't have as much opportunity to prepare to stop this person anymore. And what's really impressed me about Sarah Zoller, as we talk about this one, not taking anything away from Sarah, she seemed to hang out on the perimeter a little bit more last year. She seems to be putting her head down, getting open shots, and going to the hoop. She just seems to diversify her game.
Well, that's what we've been talking to her about, because she's been an outstanding 3-point shooter, as you know, through her first 3 years here at Western. The part that she's always had to develop is the pull-up jumper, the mid-range shot, and then being able to take the ball to the basket with confidence. She can do it, she just sometimes hesitates. And when she starts to do that, she's going to be really hard to guard because she already has the outside game.
Well, we mentioned you guys have already started conference play, but however, you guys kind of do a unique thing. Start conference play, take a pretty long break from it, and part of that break this weekend, it's never a break for you, I know, you guys will host Simpson University in your last home game all the way until January. I believe I can't remember the exact date in January, but.
Yeah, we have Simpson on Saturday at 1 o'clock, and if you bring a canned food product, you can get in for half price, so hopefully the fans will realize that. Simpson comes in, their record is not very impressive, but they score a lot of points. They're averaging a little bit over 70 a game and giving up about 76 a game. So they have a lot of really close games where they've lost them, but they've come down to the end. So it's going to be a challenge for us. We've had finals this week. The girls have had a little bit lax practices these first 2 days. Now we got to get back into it. And then after Simpson, we have to go down to Los Angeles for the 3rd year of the GNAC CCA Challenge with Cal Poly Pomona and Cal State LA, who are 2 teams that have winning records. Cal Poly Pomona was picked to finish 3rd in their conference, and Cal State LA was picked to finish 6th. So it never eases up.
We know you like those challenges, Coach, but this team seems to really be coming together at the end, and it's been a very fun those last 2 games were fantastic, and you guys have been a fun game to watch. All your home games, last 3 home games this year: Humboldt State, NNU, and Central Washington. And there are still tickets available for all those games. And I saw in your article the other day after Wednesday night's game, that was one of the best crowds you felt there had been there at Westfield.
Riley mentioned that in her quote there, and it was huge. The crowd was behind us. We had athletes supporting athletes night, and all the athletes from different sports were there, plus kids and parents from the outside area. And they got behind us, and it was a close game throughout. Even though we were behind, we just kept coming back, and that built momentum in the crowd, and it was fantastic.
Well, fantastic. We really hope to see more of you out this year, especially come that new year when the Wolves come back home for a whole slate of GNAC conference games. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Wolves Weekly.